What is good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one I want to break down what's happening with SPY, Tsla, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers, and break down what's happening with the overall market moving forward, what you should be watching for as time goes on, and also some very, very important developments going into the charts for next week. But before I begin the doubles information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. I am personally not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo and deposit $100, you are guaranteed 7 free stocks. The offer ends very soon, in just about 4 days from now. Anyways, with the market dipping the way it has, we actually saw a little rebound attempt for today. So the question is, will SPY establish a lower high and continue on this trend, or is SPY about to get a big rejection? I'll be talking more about this in a little bit of time. So for next week, I want to make it very clear that the market's going to be closed on Monday for Memorial Day. It's going to be a national holiday, so I hope you guys have a very awesome 3-day weekend. But for the most part, there's not really a whole lot else going on. We have a couple of Fed speakers on Tuesday. Going into Wednesday, we actually have Bostic giving a speech and some manufacturing numbers coming out. Thursday is when we have some important GDP numbers, which could cause a big move, followed by PCE data coming out for Friday. So the data gets more heavy towards the end of the week next week. And for earnings, it's all very minor. We just have a couple of banks coming out. Very, very minor stuff. We have Salesforce, Chewy, not to mention Dick's Sporting Goods. And then for Thursday, we have more retail like Kohl's and Foot Locker and Dollar General, not to mention Costco and Dell. Costco is going to be one of the biggest ones, at least for the week. But that's pretty much it. Earnings are very, very minor, so there's not really a whole lot going on. So what do I see on the charts? What's my personal opinion? I do think that SPY has potential to go a little bit higher, but we're going to be watching to see if this can actually hold some key levels. So if I were to show you guys this, I would say that we could actually attempt to go a little higher. We could actually try to retest this 531.5 area, the previous all-time high. But the question is, will SPY hold that support, or will we end up getting a break? Right now, I do see a potential for it to go a little bit higher, but we'll have to see if we establish a lower high. If we fail to break this resistance all the way up here, if we get past like 530, watch 530.8 and 531.5, establish a lower high, we could be looking for a rejection and move back down, all the way back down to these levels. If we lose 528 especially, losing 528 would be opening the doors for a bigger move to the downside to potentially even fill our gap down to 523. But even if we do get a little bit of a pullback, I still think SPY will bounce. I still think it's going to hold up very well, because this is looking like a buy the dip market where buyers are continuing to defend, and we don't really have enough negative catalysts to really cause this to dip. So going into what I see for next week, I do see potential for SPY to rally more, try to fill this imbalance all the way up here, and try to make its way up towards this resistance. We'll have to see if it gets some kind of rejection or not, but overall, we're just holding up very well, in my personal opinion. So I see potential for us to go a little bit higher, but watch and see if we get a rejection or not. And overall, we're still holding up very, very well. Now, if we do get that rejection, we could just get a temporary pullback before we try to make our way back up higher. So overall, despite what could end up happening, the chart still looks bullish. It still looks bullish nonetheless. I still favor the upside potential, and there's no sign of this really breaking down. Could we get a little pullback back down to like this imbalance over here at 523? Maybe it's going to happen. Maybe we get a little pop and then drop back down there. But even if that happens, we're going to easily start to push back up to new all-time highs later on as the chart remains bullish. So regardless of what happens, I want to say that the bigger picture still looks bullish for SPY, and there's more upside potential. How about for Nvda? Nvidia, in my opinion, is looking very bullish. I think that at this point, we're continuing to just make higher highs again and again. And we have a nice breakout right here, so I wouldn't be surprised if we make our way up to about 1,080 and eventually 1,100. So I do have a 1,100 target on Nvidia. It looks bullish to me overall, and there's no sign of this getting stopped just yet. So I favor the upside. We'll be looking for that 1,100 area, and that's going to be very key for how we end up moving. For Bitcoin, Bitcoin's also trying to rebound. We're going to be looking at our 20 EMA as key supports. If we bounce off this, we have this imbalance to fill, so 70,000 is going to likely be our next target. I see potential in Bitcoin to try to bounce, so we'll see if that ends up being the case and give it the time it needs. For the QQQ is trying to rebound a bit, but just let me tell you all that right now we have this resistance to be watching for at this 460 area, maybe a little bit below that. If we get a rejection, we could be dipping down to this imbalance at 455 to try to bounce. If we break through this, then we could try to push higher. So I'll just wait and see what ends up happening from here, but that is something else that's worth noting. We will see if we get a little rejection here and try to make our way back down towards this candlestick, all the way back down to 455 or not. I do believe that there's a risk of that. To remain bullish, you want to see it break the all-time high, but I think that from here, we could see a little bit of a dip right here. We could actually retest this 455 area. We'll see if we get a bounce off that or not. And regardless of if we get a bigger rejection, start dipping down to 450 again, if that were to happen hypothetically, do not worry, guys. The market's going to get bought back up, and right now the bulls are still in control. So the overall structure is bullish. Regardless if we get a little dip right here, or if we dip a little bit lower, it's still going to bounce. The odds do favor upside. The trend is still very strong on the triple Q. For Apple stock, we're also looking more bullish. We're testing this resistance at this 190 area, at least as of right now. If we break past 190.5, we'll be looking for basically 191.3 to try to get all the way up here. We could see a little dip right here around this 189 zone before it tries to continue higher. But I think that the ultimate chart on Apple is still bullish, and we could be approaching highs all over again. Just for a few more, just to be uh, very, very sufficient. I want to mention that there is more upside potential in these markets, and we could still see a little bounce in the IWM. I think it's going to be going for at least 207 again, so I see potential for it to go higher. We'll see how it reacts to resistance, but look for a little bit more of a push. For Tesla, Tesla's also looking pretty decent. One thing worth noting about Tesla is it's not doing anything too crazy. We're kind of range bound on Tesla. So we've been stuck between 180 and about 172 for the last 2 weeks. Regardless of this one little push we got to about 187 before coming back down, we've been stuck within the range for the most part. Now, what is good about Tesla is the fact that when you zoom out all the way, we have a nice inverse head and shoulders right over here. We have a left shoulder right here, we have a head right here, we have a right shoulder forming. So there's potential for this to break out a lot higher. I do see potential in Tesla, but we have to wait for confirmation to see how well it holds these levels. As far as Tesla goes, it's going to try to push for 180. We'll see if it breaks or not. If it rejects, then the typical pattern is going to develop where we just love to shuffle between 172 and 178. And if not, then it is what it is, but that's all I'm seeing for now. The 4 hour does look more bullish, so it does favor it's going to try to go a little higher towards about 182 at least. So it might actually try to break through this pattern, break through the range, and actually push a little bit higher than that. So that's looking like a big possibility. One thing about the markets is if we do get a little pullback, it really depends on different factors. The VIX is very, very undervalued now at the 12s. And generally, when we're this low, we do tend to see it bounce a bit. So we'll see. There's no sign of a really, really big bounce yet on the VIX. So we have to give this some time to develop. But with where the VIX is right now, we do love to bounce in the 12s. So we'll have to see if that ends up happening. And if this ends up leading to anything else for the markets, we could even try to retest our 200 EMA later. So I'll be watching to see if we get that bounce later. It's not ready yet. So it's showing signs that the market's not ready to reject yet. So we'll wait and see how it goes. But with that being said, I just want to say I really appreciate every single one of you. Please have an absolutely incredible weekend. Market's going to be closed for Monday, so we have a 3-day holiday. I'll still try to post videos every day until then. And with that being said, I'll be back tomorrow, hopefully around, I would say around 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, maybe a little bit earlier. We'll see. I'll continue to give you guys as much value as I possibly could, at least for now. With that being said, thank you all so much for listening. I hope you guys have fun for this Memorial Day weekend. It's been a long time since we had a weekend like this, and it's always good to just take some time off and really use it as time to just appreciate what we have and such. So thank you guys so much. I'll see you guys soon tomorrow, and peace out.